They told you to live in the end. It sounds simple, right? Just imagine you already have it, walk like you have it, talk like you have it, sleep like you have it. So you tried. For the last few months, or maybe years, you have been trying to mentally inhabit a reality that doesn't exist yet. You wake up and immediately force yourself into a specific emotional state. You monitor every thought to make sure it aligns with the end. You police your reactions. You pretend the 3D isn't happening. And let's be honest about how that actually feels. It doesn't feel like freedom. It doesn't feel like magic. It feels exhausting. It feels like you are holding a heavy pose for 16 hours a day, and the moment you relax, the moment you stop living in the end, you feel like you failed. I am making this video to tell you something that might contradict everything you've heard in this space. Stop. Stop trying to live in the end. Because the way you are doing it is not bringing your manifestation closer. It is pushing it away. What you are experiencing right now, the fatigue, the numbness, the feeling that your mind is a war zone, is not a test. It is a direct result of misunderstanding what Neville actually meant. You aren't living in the end. You are performing the end. And that performance is what's exhausting you. I call this manifestation burnout. And if you are feeling this right now, if you feel tired, numb, or strangely disconnected from the very things you used to want more than anything, I need you to listen very closely, because you are not broken. You have not failed the law, and you have not lost your power. You have simply hit the limit of how much effort your nervous system can handle. The wall is not there to stop you. The wall is there to protect you. But to understand that, we have to look at what this wall actually is. Most people think the wall is made of doubt. They think they are blocked because they don't believe enough. They think the heaviness they feel is proof that their subconscious mind is rejecting the new story. So what do? They push harder. They try to smash through the wall with more affirmations. They try to climb over it with stricter mental diets. They try to dig under it by analyzing their childhood beliefs. But the wall doesn't move. In fact, the harder they push, the thicker it gets. Why? Because the wall is not made of doubt. The wall is made of effort. This is the part that no one tells you. The burnout you are experiencing is not caused by a lack of faith. It is caused by an excess of trying. You have been trying to perform a state instead of occupying one. And the difference between performance and occupation is the difference between exhaustion and rest. This is where the command to live in the end becomes a trap. Most people interpret living in the end as a continuous conscious effort to simulate a feeling. They think they need to feel wealthy every second of the day. They think they need to feel loved every time they look at their phone. But that is not living. That is acting. Think about an actor on a stage. Imagine an actor who has to play a role of a king. A bad actor tries to act like a king. He puffs out his chest. He deepens his voice. He moves with exaggerated gestures. He is constantly thinking, do I look like a king? Do I sound like a king? Is the audience convinced? He is working. He is expending tremendous amounts of energy to project an image. By the end of the play, he is exhausted. Now imagine a real king. A real king doesn't try to act like a king. He doesn't wake up and ask himself, am I feeling royal today? He doesn't monitor his voice to make sure it sounds commanding. He simply is. He can be tired. He can be grumpy. He can be slouching in his chair. And he is still the king. He isn't performing, he is occupying. For the last few weeks or months or maybe even years, you have been the actor. You have been performing the state of the wish fulfilled. You have been waking up and putting on the costume. You have been checking the mirror of your mind constantly to see if it looks right. You have been asking, is this aligned? Is this the state? Am I doing it? And because you are performing, your nervous system is on high alert. It knows you are acting. It knows this requires energy. And because it requires energy, it is not sustainable. So your body did the only thing it knows how to do when it is under constant, relentless pressure. It shut down. It built a wall. This numbness you feel, this lack of desire, this feeling that you just can't bring yourself to visualize one more time, that isn't a spiritual block. That is a biological safety mechanism. Your system is saying, I cannot hold this pose anymore. I cannot keep performing this character if you are going to critique every single breath I take. And until you understand this, no amount of technique will help you, because you cannot technique your way out of burnout. You can only rest your way out of it. But here is where the trap gets deeper, because even when you hear this, even when you hear me say that you need to stop trying, your mind immediately turns that into a new technique, You think, okay, I need to let go to manifest. I need to relax to get what I want. So now you are trying to relax. You are monitoring your relaxation. You are checking to see if you have let go enough. Am I resting correctly? Is this the Sabbath? Why do I still feel anxious if I'm supposed to be letting go? Do you see the trap? The supervisor is still in charge. The part of you that wants to control the outcome has just changed its strategy. Before, it was trying to control through effort. Now it is trying to control through relaxation. But the underlying frequency hasn't changed. The frequency is still surveillance. And surveillance is the enemy of the state. Let's go deeper into this. Because this specific mechanism, the monitoring trap, is the single biggest reason people stay stuck in the wall for years. The monitoring trap is based on a simple misunderstanding of what awareness is. We are taught to be aware of our thoughts. Neville taught this. Every great teacher taught this. Watch your thoughts. But there is a difference between watching your thoughts and policing them. There is a difference between being the observer and being the interrogator. When you are in the monitoring trap, you are not observing. You are hunting. You are hunting for evidence that you are doing it wrong. Every time a doubt comes up, you pounce on it. You attack it. You try to flip it immediately because you are terrified that if you let it exist for even 5 seconds, it will manifest. You have become afraid of your own mind. Think about how exhausting that is, to live in a house where you are afraid of the furniture, to live in a body where you are afraid of your own sensations, to live in a mind where you are afraid of your own thoughts. This fear creates a chronic state of contraction. You are tight, mentally, physically, emotionally, and a tight system cannot receive. A tight system cannot expand. A tight system can only defend. So when you try to visualize your desire while you are in this state of contraction, it doesn't feel good. It feels like you are trying to force a flower to bloom by prying the petals open with a screwdriver. It feels violent, quietly, internally violent, and your subconscious mind feels that violence. It doesn't hear your affirmation. It doesn't see your visualization. It feels your grip. It feels the desperation in your hands as you try to strangle the old story to death. And it responds to the grip, not the words. It responds to the tension, not the image. So it gives you more things to be tense about. It gives you more reasons to grip. It gives you the wall. This is why you feel stuck. Not because the law isn't working. The law is working perfectly. The law is giving you exactly what you are embodying. And right now you are embodying a person who is trying very, very hard to fix themselves. You are embodying a person who is waiting for permission to breathe. You are embodying a person who believes that their natural state is unacceptable and therefore must be managed, corrected, and supervised 24 hours a day. And the law says, yes, that is who you are. Here is more of that. So the wall gets higher, the numbness gets deeper, and the desire, the beautiful, burning desire that started this whole journey, starts to fade away. This is the scariest part for most people. The fading of the desire. You used to want this thing so bad it hurt. You used to cry about it. You used to daydream about it and feel butterflies in your stomach. Now, you think about it and you feel nothing. Flat, empty, blank, and the supervisor in your head starts to panic. Do I not want it anymore? Did I give up? Is this proof that I'm never going to get it? Why don't I care? And you assume this numbness is the end. You assume you have failed. But I am here to tell you that this numbness is not the end. It is a symptom. It is your soul telling you that it is tired of the transaction. It is tired of the deal you made. The deal that says, I will only feel good when I see it. The deal that says, I will only relax when I prove it works. The deal that says, I will starve myself of peace today so I can feast on success tomorrow. The numbness is your refusal to play that game anymore. It is actually a sign of health. It is your sanity kicking in. Your system is saying, I would rather feel nothing than feel this pressure. And that is a very important place to be, because once you realize that the wall is made of effort and that the numbness is a protection against pressure, you stop fighting it. You stop trying to break down the wall. You stop trying to force yourself to feel. You stop. And that stopping is the beginning of the real work, not the work of technique, not the work of maintenance, the work of return. Returning to a version of yourself that existed before you turned your life into a project. Returning to the innocence of imagination. But to get there, we have to dismantle the architecture of your burnout. We have to look at the 3 specific habits that keep adding bricks to the wall every single day. Because you are doing three things right now, probably without realizing it, that are keeping you in this loop of exhaustion. And the first one has to do with how you define persistence. We need to talk about persistence, because the way this word is taught in the community has destroyed more dreams than doubt ever could. You have been told that persistence means continuity. You have been told that persistence means never dropping the ball, that it means holding the image steady 24/7, like you are carrying a full glass of water across a tightrope. And if you spill a drop, if you waver, if you look down, failure. So you walk the tightrope, you stare at the glass. Your muscles shake, you sweat. You don't look at the scenery, you don't enjoy the view, you just focus on not spilling. That is not persistence. That is torture. Neville never asked you to torture yourself. Neville said, the time it takes your assumption to become fact, your desire to be fulfilled, is directly proportionate to the naturalness of your feeling of being it. Naturalness. Look at that word. Naturalness. Is walking a tightrope while shaking with fear natural? Is monitoring every thought for 16 hours a day natural? Is waking up with a checklist natural? No. Naturalness is effortless. Naturalness is inconsistent. Naturalness allows for flow. Think about your name. You know your name is your name. You are persistent in that assumption. But do you walk around all day repeating your name to yourself? Do you panic if you forget to think about your name for 3 hours? Do you wake up and check if you still believe your name is your name? No. You forget about it. You get distracted. You think about dinner. You get angry at traffic. You laugh at a joke. And through it all, you remain you. You persist in being you, not by thinking about it constantly, but by returning to it effortlessly whenever it is required. That is natural persistence, but with your manifestation, you are practicing artificial persistence. You are trying to create a continuity of thought that is humanly impossible. You are trying to be a machine. And because you are human, you fail. You get distracted, you have a bad day, you feel sad, and then you judge yourself for being human. I broke the state. I let the old man in. I wasn't persistent. And that judgment adds another brick to the wall. It adds another layer of shame. And shame is the heaviest vibration you can carry. You cannot manifest a life of freedom while carrying a backpack full of shame about your own mind. So, the first step to dissolving the wall is to redefine persistence. Persistence is not about never leaving the state. Persistence is about not making a big deal out of it when you do. Read that again. Persistence is about not making a big deal out of it when you do. It's about the return. If you drift, you drift. If you react to the 3D, you react. If you cry, you cry. It doesn't mean the seed is dug up. It doesn't mean you ruined it. It just means you are alive. And the moment you stop punishing yourself for being alive, the tension in your system begins to drop. The grip loosens. And when the grip loosens, the blood starts to flow again. But there is a second habit, a more subtle one. And this one is about how you relate to time. Or rather, how you relate to the waiting room. Because right now you aren't living in your life. You are living in the waiting room of your life. You have paused everything. You are waiting for the money to arrive before you feel secure. You are waiting for the text to arrive before you feel worthy. You are waiting for the body to change before you feel beautiful. You have suspended your existence. And living in suspension is exhausting. It's like holding your breath. You can hold your breath for 30 seconds, maybe a minute, but try holding it for a month. Try holding it for a year. That is what you are doing spiritually. You are holding your breath, waiting to exhale when the manifestation arrives. I'll exhale when I see the deposit. I'll exhale when I see the ring. But the manifestation is looking for a place to land, and it cannot land in a body that is holding its breath. It needs circulation. It needs movement. It needs a host that is alive. The wall you feel is simply the accumulation of carbon dioxide from holding your breath for too long. You are starving yourself of the present moment because you have judged the present moment as wrong. You have judged the now as the enemy. This isn't it, you say to yourself. This isn't my reality. My reality is coming. So you reject the now. You resist it. You push it away. But the now is where you are. And by fighting where you are creating a war inside your own house. A war between where you are physically and where you are mentally. This split, this violent separation between body and mind, is what drains your battery. Your body is here, your mind is there, and the elastic band stretching between them is about to snap. That snap is the burnout. So, how do we fix this? How do we dissolve a wall made of effort, surveillance, and suspension? We don't attack it. We don't try to fix it. We melt it. We melt it with a radical, terrifying, and absolutely necessary shift in perspective. We have to move from getting to being. And I know, you have heard that 1,000 times. Be the person. But I am not talking about the Instagram version of being. I am not talking about fake it till you make it. I am talking about a biological shift in safety. I am talking about teaching your nervous system that it is safe to have the desire, and it is safe to not see it yet. Both must be safe. This is the key that unlocks the prison. As long as the absence of your desire feels unsafe to you, you will be trapped in the monitoring trap. As long as looking at your bank account and seeing a low number feels like danger, you will be manic. We have to make the not yet safe, because when the not yet is safe, the pressure disappears, and when the pressure disappears, the wall comes down. And when the wall comes down, the state that has been waiting patiently behind it, the true state, the natural state, the inevitable state, finally has room to breathe. So, are you ready to stop holding your breath? Are you ready to fire the supervisor? Are you ready to stop acting like a king and just sit in the chair? Because the chair has been waiting for you this whole time, and it doesn't require you to stand on your tiptoes to sit in it. Let's look at how we actually do this. How we move from the anatomy of the wall to the biology of belief. Now we need to go deeper. We need to talk about your body, because manifestation is not just a mental act, it is a biological event. When you try to install a new belief, like I am wealthy or I am loved, you are not just changing a thought. You are asking your nervous system to accept a new reality. And here is the problem. Your nervous system doesn't care about what you want. It cares about what is familiar. To your biology, familiar equals safe, even if the familiar is painful, even if the familiar is lack, even if the familiar is loneliness. Your body knows how to survive in those states. It has a map for them. But the new story, the millions of dollars, the specific person, the fame, to your nervous system, that is the unknown. And to a primitive nervous system, the unknown equals danger. So, look at what happens when you try to force a state through sheer willpower. You sit down to visualize wealth. You start to imagine the money. You try to feel the joy. But underneath the joy, there is a tremor, a tightness in your stomach, a shallow breath, a rapid heartbeat. You interpret this as excitement, but your body interprets it as a threat. Your body is saying, we don't know how to be safe in this new reality. Go back to being broke. Being broke is safe. We know how to survive being broke. So the body releases cortisol, it releases stress hormones. And this is where the burnout becomes physical. You are mentally pressing the gas pedal. I am wealthy. But your biology is slamming on the brakes. It is not safe to be wealthy. This friction creates heat. It creates exhaustion. This is why you can do affirmations for an hour and feel like you just ran a marathon. You are fighting your own survival mechanism. And the wall you feel, that numbness, that is your nervous system pulling the emergency brake. It is saying, if you won't stop scaring me with this new reality, I will shut down your ability to care about it. So, please hear me. You are not blocked because you are bad at manifesting. You are blocked because you haven't made the new state feel safe yet. You have made it feel exciting. You have made it feel important. You have made it feel urgent. But you haven't made it feel safe. And until the desire feels safer than the lack, the body will always fight you. This leads us directly to the second major habit that keeps the wall standing, the misunderstanding of persistence. We talked about how you've turned persistence into a tightrope walk, but let's look at the true definition of the word. In the original Hebrew and Greek texts that Neville often referenced, the concepts of faith and persistence were never about static holding. They were about loyalty. Loyalty is different from continuity. Think about a marriage. If you are loyal to your partner, does it mean you are staring at them 24 hours a day? Does it mean you never get annoyed with them? Does it mean you never want a moment of space? Of course not. Loyalty means that no matter what happens during the day, no matter the arguments, the distance, the distractions, you know who you are coming home to. You always return. That is biblical persistence. It is the return. But the way you are practicing persistence right now is abusive. You are acting like a jealous lover to your own mind. Every time your mind wanders to the 3D, you scream at it. Don't look at that. Don't think that. Cancel, cancel, cancel. You are constantly bullying your own imagination into submission. And do you know what happens when you bully a child? They don't learn to listen, they learn to hide. Your imagination has gone into hiding because you have become a tyrant. You have made the act of imagining stressful because you demand perfection. So to dissolve the wall, you must change your definition of persistence today. Right now. Persistence is not never having a negative thought. Persistence is not fearing the negative thought when it comes. It's the ability to look at a moment of doubt, shrug your shoulders and say, that's okay, that's just an old echo. I'm still going home. No drama, no restart, no guilt. When you take the pressure off your persistence, you stop triggering the danger signal in your nervous system. You stop the cortisol, and when the cortisol stops, the wall begins to crack. But now, we arrive at the most critical part of this entire discussion, the diagnosis. Because right now, many of you are confused. You have heard of the Sabbath. You have heard Neville talk about the state of rest where you know it is done. And you look at your numbness, you look at your lack of desire, and you ask, is this it? Is this the Sabbath? Am I finally detached? And you try to convince yourself that this emptiness is actually spiritual peace. But deep down, you know something is off. Because the Sabbath doesn't feel heavy, and what you are feeling is heavy. So let's make the distinction crystal clear. We are going to separate the void from the Sabbath. They look the same on the surface. Both involve a cessation of effort, but they are vibratorily opposite. Here is how to tell where you are. In the void, you stop doing the techniques because it hurts to keep trying. In the void, the silence is loud. It feels like resignation. In the void, you say, I don't care, but what you really mean is, I can't afford to be disappointed again. In the void, you feel disconnected from life. You feel like a ghost in your own reality. In the void, the underlying emotion is apathy. In the Sabbath, you stop doing the techniques because you no longer feel the need for them. In the Sabbath, the silence is full. It feels like satisfaction. In the Sabbath, you say, I don't care, because the result feels inevitable. It's like ordering a package from Amazon. You don't care about the tracking number because you know it's coming. In the Sabbath, you feel engaged with life. You enjoy your coffee. You enjoy your friends. You are present. In the Sabbath, the underlying emotion is relief. Look at the difference: apathy versus relief, resignation versus satisfaction, protection versus trust. If you are in the void, you have shut down to protect yourself from the pain of absence. If you are in the Sabbath, you have let go because you have accepted the reality of presence. Most of you watching this are in the void, and that is okay. Admitting it is the first step out. You are in the void because you tried to fake the Sabbath. You tried to force yourself to let go before you were actually convinced. You mimicked the behavior of someone who believes without actually believing, and pretending to trust is the most exhausting form of effort there is. So how do we move from the void to the Sabbath? How do we turn this numbness back into life? We don't do it by forcing excitement. That will just send you back to the beginning of the cycle. We do it by learning how to occupy the state rather than visit it. We do it by taking the God off the pedestal and realizing that your imagination is not a tool you pick up. It is the ground you walk on. We are going to use a process I call the softening. This is not a technique to get something. This is a technique to become someone who can receive. Because right now your hands are clenched so tight around your desire that you are strangling it. You think you are holding on, but you are actually choking the flow. We need to open the hand. Not to drop the desire, but to let it breathe. Here is what we are going to do. We are going to stop treating your manifestation like a hostage situation. Give me the money, or I won't be happy. Give me the text, or I won't feel worthy. That is a hostage negotiation, and the universe does not negotiate with terrorists. We are going to put the gun down. We are going to learn how to exist in the not yet without falling apart. Because the paradox of the law is this: the moment you are okay with it not being here is the moment it has permission to arrive. Not because you gave up, but because you stopped blocking the door with your anxiety. Let's look at the practical application of this. How to actually melt the wall starting today. So how do we open the hand? How do we soften a system that has been hardwired for protection? We start with a practice I call the softening. This is not a visualization. It is not an affirmation. It is a biological permission slip. It starts with the body. Right now, notice your jaw. Is it tight? Notice your shoulders. Are they up by your ears? Notice your stomach. Is it braced for impact? That tension is your physical prayer for protection. You are physically bracing yourself against the lack of your desire. I want you to drop your shoulders, unclench your jaw, and let your stomach expand. And then, I want you to say this sentence internally. Not to the universe, to yourself. I allow this desire to exist and I allow it to not be here yet. Feel the resistance that comes up when you say that. The supervisor in your head will scream, "No, if I allow it to not be here, it will never come." That is the lie. That is the lie that built the wall. The truth is, the moment you give yourself permission to be okay without it, the desperation leaves the building. And when desperation leaves, naturalness enters. You are not giving up on the desire. You are giving up on the timeline. You are giving up on the demand that it happens now to prove you are safe. You are saying, "I am safe either way." This is the ultimate state. This is the "it is done." It is done doesn't mean it is in my bank account. It is done means I am no longer fighting for it. The war is over. And once the war is over, you can finally do the one thing you haven't done in a long time. You can play. This is the final step, the return to innocence. Do you remember how you used to imagine before you knew about the law, before you knew about Neville, before you knew about techniques? You would daydream. You would lay in bed and imagine amazing things just because it felt good. You didn't do it to manifest them. You didn't do it to change the 3D. You did it because it was fun. You were innocent. And because you were innocent, there was no resistance. And because there was no resistance, things happened magically. You need to go back there. You need to stop working on your manifestation and start playing with it again. Visualize the scene, not to make it happen, but to enjoy the experience of it. Affirm, not to fix a thought, but to remind yourself of who you are. Treat your imagination like a sanctuary, not a construction site. When you do this, when you replace the supervisor with the inner child, the wall dissolves. Not all at once, but brick by brick. The numbness will turn into a gentle quietness, the anxiety will turn into a soft excitement, and the burnout will turn into flow. You don't need to force the door open. You just need to stop holding it shut with your own fear. Let the breath return to your body. Let the trust return to your heart. And remember, the state is not a cage you have to lock yourself into. It is a home you can always return to. So when I say stop living in the end, I don't mean give up on your desire. I mean stop the performance, stop the constant checking, stop the exhausting effort to maintain a mask for your own mind. Real living is effortless. If you have to force yourself to be there, you aren't there. You are just visiting. True living happens when you stop trying to prove to yourself that you have it and simply allow yourself to be okay, whether you feel it right now or not. That's safety. That creates the space for the real end to arrive. Rest. You have performed enough. I have left something for you in the comments that explains manifestation. It is for those who are ready to stop fighting their own biology. But for now, just breathe. The wall is coming down. And what is waiting on the other side is you.